Well, it is good to be back with you for another day as we are continuing on through our Advent Jesse Tree study. If you'd like to find out more about how you can be a part of this, all you need to do is visit that URL right there at the bottom of your screen. Go.christtable.today/Jesse Tree. There you'll find all 25 days laid out, how you can be a part. If you'd like to know more about the ministry that makes this study and other spiritually transformative studies available to you, then you can go right there to christtable.today. There, would encourage you to sign up for the email list so that you are aware of all of the things that are going on around Christ Table, and really also would encourage you, if you find this helpful and you donate to other places and have some charitable opportunities that you are looking to participate with, then we would appreciate you partnering with us financially. And in return, every couple of months, we will send you free our box of spiritual transformation resources in order to help you along that journey. This study is a part of that. Those who are regular donors to Christ Table receive this devotional that goes along with the study, also receive 25 ornaments of this cool little bag. And today we are getting one of those ornaments out of this bag in order to put on the tree. We find ourselves in Genesis chapter 28 today, verses 10 through 22. Now, as we come to this story, the primary symbol for the day and the one that is on the ornament is, let me hold it up over here so it's not right in front of the tree, but it is Jacob's ladder, which is a story which is fairly well known, but there is a lot that is going on in this story of Jacob's ladder. Now, all of us at many points in our life have had dreams, and many times we try to assess what those dreams mean. Have you ever had a dream that you were like, this is not just a normal dream. This dream has to mean something. There have been moments where I've had dreams that were just so vivid, so compelling that, you get on the internet and Google and you try to figure out, what do other people think these symbols mean? Is there anything to this? Is this God trying to tell me something? Is there something that I'm supposed to be made aware of here? And when you read through Scripture, it does seem as though there is a power in dreams, and oftentimes God does seem to communicate with his people through dreams. And so today, whenever we come to this story in Genesis chapter 28, that is the foundation of what's going on here, is a story where a dream takes center stage. Now, we're jumping into the story of a person named Jacob. Now, Jacob is the grandson of Abraham. Abraham has been featured in our last 2 days of stories, was featured in the tent, and as well, yesterday's the ram. Today, we're kind of fast forwarding the timeline to his grandson. God made Abraham a number of promises about land that would be his and his people's forever. God made promises about him being a father to a great nation. And we talked a little bit about how becoming a father for Abraham was messy, treacherous. It seemed as though that promise wasn't going to come true, but God came through, and our individual today is a proof that God came through on his promise to make Abraham into a great nation of people, and that all people of the world would be blessed by Abraham. Now, Abraham we often see as being a very upright, upstanding, God-honoring. In fact, the text refers to him as being a friend of God, that God called him his friend. Jacob, on the other hand, seems to be quite the opposite of his grandfather on paper, at least at this moment in his life, where Abraham seemed to be righteous, Jacob seems to be unrighteous. Where Abraham always seemed to be inclined to do the right thing, even if it was insane, Jacob seems inclined to do the wrong thing, which was clearly insane. Now, just before we get to our text in Genesis 28 today, Jacob has done a terrible thing. He has stolen the birthright from his older brother who should have received it from his father, Isaac. Jacob, with his mom, concocted this huge trick in order to deceive his father into giving this, what in ancient times was extremely important, this firstborn blessing to the secondborn, to Jacob. Jacob steals it from his brother. It can't be taken back. It can't be given away. Isaac can't reverse it and give it to Esau. Now, there's a lot wrapped up in all of that, but on face value, we just have to accept that Jacob is a thief. Jacob is a trickster. Jacob has thrown his older brother under the bus so that Jacob may receive the greatest blessings in life in the favor of God rather than Esau. And now, in Genesis 28, immediately after that happens, Jacob is on the run, alone. You have to think that Jacob had to be at least questioning the wisdom of what he did now that he firmly believes his brother is out to kill him for stealing the blessing. Maybe Jacob is even at the point of regret, wishing that he hadn't have done it, recognizing that he's the problem and that he has a problem. Either way, we find himself now here in Genesis 28 on the run from God, from his family, maybe even from himself alone. He's traveling a 550-mile or so journey to get away from his brother. 550 miles on foot. A month at best, this journey. A whole month alone, on the run, on foot, thinking you will probably never, ever see any of your family again because of what you've done. So at sundown on this 550-mile journey, Jacob finds himself alone and in a good place to set up camp, stopping there for the night. He found a stone to rest his head against and to lay down to sleep. Doesn't sound very comfortable, does it? As he slept, he dreamed of a stairway that reached from the earth up to heaven. He sees a vision. Technically, we would call this a theophany, where he sees God. He sees the angels of God going up and down the stairway. So get in your mind this picture of earth and heaven, and in between this grand staircase, this ladder, and going up and down the ladder are supernatural beings, are angels of God. Now, this was a rather common way to perceive the bridge between heaven and earth, between the gods and between human beings. Not just for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but for all people, all cultures, all tribes had this, in that time, these ancient times, this picture of the connection between heaven and earth. And so the idea was there was this unseeable ladder, this unseeable staircase that existed where angels and supernatural beings would come down from the gods into the mortal world and would do the work of the gods on their behalf and then return back up the grand staircase or the ladder in order to go back and meet and be with the gods to receive new orders, only to return back down to the staircase and continue on again. So what Jacob is envisioning here or imagining is that the veil has been removed that prevents him from seeing the supernatural connection between the gods and between mortals. And now he wonders, why? Why am I seeing this that I should not be seeing? At the top of the stairway stood the Lord. And he said, I'm the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and your descendants. Now, remember, this promise had been made to Abraham that he would receive land, that it would be his for himself, for his family, and for his people. This is what Jacob is hearing God reference, is this confirmation, this promise that was made to his granddad, to Abraham. Your descendants. So now, remember the promise was given to Abraham that Abraham's descendants would number the stars in the sky, or outnumber the stars in the sky, is the way it was framed, as being as many stars as are in the heavens, so will be the number of your descendants. Now, though, the Lord is speaking directly to Jacob. Your descendants will be as numerous as the dust on the earth. They will spread out in all directions, to the west and the east, to the north, to the south, and all of the families of the earth will be blessed through you and your descendants. So now we've essentially hit all 3 points that Abraham had received as a promise: the land, a family of numerous descendants, and that all of the world would be blessed through them. So this is a renewal of that promise now into Jacob's ears. What's more, so, you see those commercials on TV, those infomercials trying to sell you something, but wait, there's more. This is kind of what's happening here. What's more, but wait, there's more. I'm with you. Now pause for just a moment and think about that. Because Jacob, I don't think, probably at all felt like he measured up to his grandfather's shadow. Especially in this moment, having deceived and destroyed his relationship with the rest of his family. You got to think that in the loneliness of that 550-mile journey, Jacob was thinking, I've cut myself off from my family. I've cut myself off from God. No one will probably want to ever be with me again. I'm alone now. And yet here, right after God says, but wait, there's more, he says, I am with you. Listen to the words that God is saying, because they are so important in context of what Jacob has just done and come through. I will protect you wherever you go. One day, I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have finished giving you everything I have promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it. We'll pause there. Now, the text goes on in our reading for today, and I'd encourage you to go ahead and finish out the reading for today. But I want to pause there on that line. Surely the Lord is in this place, and I wasn't even aware of it. Now, I could go on for hours pontificating upon the power of that verse right there. In those moments where we have done our worst and feel the furthest from God or from our fellow human beings, our family, or our neighbors. Surely the Lord is in that place with you, even when you're not aware of it, even when you don't deserve it. Even when you deserve the opposite of God being with you, God is present. It's hard to overstate the comfort and the peace that must have brought Jacob in that moment. And it would be hard to overstate, I think, for you and for me, how that brings peace and comfort to us to be reminded in our valley, in our darkness, no matter how bad, no matter how deserved, no matter how responsible we were for putting ourselves there and driving a wedge between ourselves and the world around us, there is nowhere that you can go that God is not. God reminds one of the worst human beings on the planet in that moment that he is not forgotten, that he is not alone, and that God's promise to his grandfather and now to him will prevail despite everything that Jacob does or is that gets in the way. You know, I love that another way to say God is present is to say God with us. Now, for most of you, that's going to immediately trigger your mind to Christmas. God is present, God with us. The verse, even the song that we oftentimes sing, Emmanuel, he shall be called Emmanuel. You shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. The promise of Emmanuel means that not only is Jacob able to receive the promise that God is present with him, but Emmanuel, Jesus, means that promise isn't just for Jacob. It's for you and it's for me as well. God with us. This is the power of the story of Christmas and the coming of Jesus and the promise of this presence with Jacob. In Jacob's darkest moment and most deserved destruction, God was still present and working and bringing hope and peace. And in your darkest moment, when you're deserving of the greatest destruction, he will, because of the promise of Emmanuel, God with us, be with you too. And so, return to this line that I have loved over the years. God's presence with you, God with us, means that there is hope. And that nothing can be the same because of that presence. Even deplorable people like Jacob have a chance and will be redeemed because of God's presence. And you and I will be because of Christ's presence as well. Because wherever Jesus is present, everything changes. We see that in the Gospels, that whenever Jesus shows up, the natural laws don't apply. You can throw normal out the window. All bets are off whenever Jesus shows up, whenever Jesus is present. And wherever he's present, everything changes. That is both the hope of Christmas and the promise of a life lived with Christ. Until tomorrow, happy reading.